Welcome back to an introduction to LearnDash. In the last video, we learned how to modify our topics and how to use video progression. In this video, we are going to learn how to evaluate our students by using quizzes. First, let's go to the WordPress dashboard, to LearnDash LMS, quizzes. You'll notice that we don't have any quizzes pre-populated here. And that's because we did not use the course builder to create quizzes. First, let's choose quiz options. So first we have our global settings. We can choose to show a leaderboard of everybody who's taking quizzes. This is great, again, if the grades are not for any sort of schooling or anything like that, but if you just want to have some healthy competition among the students. And you could choose the time format as well. There's also a tab for email settings. So if you want to configure emails that go to the administrator, you can do that here. This is to notify the administrators that a quiz has been completed. You can also set up user email settings to let the students know their progress and if they've completed the quiz and things like that. There's also a settings area in case you run into any issues. We're not going to run through these settings, but I did want to point them out in case you need support. You can use these options and the instructions in order to get better support and troubleshoot your LearnDash installation. If we click on submitted essays, you'll see that this is an area for if students submit essay questions. So if you ask them for an essay question on a quiz, their answers will be submitted here. Since those can't be automatically graded, you will have the opportunity to read and grade that part of the quiz. Finally, there is an import-export area as well as the categories and tags that we've seen across the rest of the LearnDash sections. So let's go ahead and add a new quiz. This quiz is going to evaluate students after lesson 1. And this is not going to be graded. This is just to gauge how well they're doing for themselves. We can choose to add a description here or not. So we'll just skip over that part. And there are a lot of different options for putting together these quizzes. These first set of options that we're going to look at don't involve creating any questions yet. These are just options to describe the quiz. Luckily, we can create a template so we don't need to redo this every time. But we are going to have to save the quiz before we can start adding questions to it. So first we'll look at the regular quiz options. These look somewhat familiar to what we've seen in the lessons and topics. We have our quiz materials. There is the repeat option. So this will allow us to denote how many times a student can repeat the quiz. There's the certificate and passing thresholds. And these are options for the minimum grade a student needs to get in order to be issued a certificate and in order to be issued a passing grade so that they can move on to the next lesson. We're going to set both of these to 0, which is to say that they don't need to get any questions right in order to move on. This is just for them to self-evaluate to see how well they're doing. Then we have the advanced options. Many of these options do exactly what they say they do. So hide quiz title, we'll hide the quiz title, hide the restart quiz button, we'll hide the restart quiz button and things like that. We're going to keep these at their defaults mostly. You can also set a time limit on the quiz. So you can say, okay, you can't take more than 10 minutes to take this quiz or more than an hour to take this quiz. And that's in seconds. You can protect quiz answers in a browser cookie. What this means is that the students' answers will be saved until the quiz is submitted. 0 means don't save the answers. So essentially they'll have to take the quiz, and if they leave or close out the browser, they'll have to take the quiz again. And then there are some other options for protecting the quiz. Again, you can walk through these and read the descriptions on the bottom. This is a very descriptive screen, but there are a lot of options for you to really customize your quiz experience. After we get past the quiz options, there are question-specific options, like numbering the answers, like showing if the answer is correct or incorrect. That's something you might want to hide if the students can do multiple attempts. If they don't do well the first time, but they were told what the answer was, they'll get a 100 the second time around, things like that. You can force the user to answer each question so they can't skip any questions and things like that. And then finally, we have result options. So you, again, can show them the average points, their points, the amount of time it took them to take the quiz, their score, and things like that. The last required option is the quiz mode. So there are 4 different quiz modes here: normal, normal plus back button, check and continue, and questions below each other. Normal is the default, and it will display all the questions sequentially. Right or false will be displayed at the end of the quiz, so students can see how well they did for each answer. Normal plus back button is the normal setting, and it allows students to go back to a question to change their answer. Check and continue will show their answer right after they answer the question. So it'll tell them right or wrong, again, right after they answer. And question below each other. If this option is activated, all answers are displayed below each other. All questions are on a single page. So we are going to choose check and continue for this one. Again, you can choose whatever you think is best for your students. So with the options that we've chosen, we're going to save this draft. And once we do that, there is a questions section that we can now add questions to. You'll also notice that in the course switcher, we have standalone quiz. But if we scroll down, there's no place for us to add the quiz in the course. We're going to have to do that through the course builder from the course edit page. So first we'll create both of our quizzes and then we'll add them to the course using the course builder. If we click on questions, we can click add a question, and now we're presented with a title, the amount of points a question is worth, the category. This is great if you plan on reusing questions. You might want to categorize all of the questions that you have. And then we get to the required text. So again, this is to evaluate things that the student learned in lesson 1, and this is not a quiz that they are required to pass. So we're going to come up with a couple of questions here just to demonstrate the functionality. Once we have the question or statement, in this case, we can choose to show a custom correct and incorrect message. So if we want to reinforce something that they've learned, if they give an incorrect answer, we can do that here. Otherwise, the user will just see right or wrong. Then we choose the answer type. So there are several different answer types: single choice, multiple choice, free choice, which is open text, sorting, so they have to drag and drop the answers into the right order, matrix sorting, fill in the blank assessment, open answer. So this is, at its core, a true or false question. There is no specific true or false answer type, but this is a single choice, and we're going to have 2 choices, right? We're going to have true or false. We have our answers, then we need to mark which one is the correct answer so that the system knows how to grade it. And then we are going to click save on this question. We'll then go back to add another question here. So once we click that, we can add another question. So we'll add one more, and this will be a multi-choice question. Again, we'll just leave the messages as right or wrong, and then we'll make this a multiple choice answer. So again, they can look at the list and choose more than one option here. So these are all formats that we listed in the lesson, which means they would be incorrect if selected. The next 2 are going to be completely made up. So these will be correct answers. And once we have our answers set and marked as correct. We'll click save. And then we'll return to the questions overview. So again, we've got 2 questions here. Each one is worth a single point. We have 2 different question types. And now we have our quiz. So we're going to create one more quiz before we add them to our course. This is going to go at the end of the course. So it's going to go at the end of the second lesson. And this is going to be required to pass in order to complete the lesson and therefore complete the course. So we will keep our thresholds here. We'll keep them at 70%. We're also going to want to pay attention to our quiz options here. So far, everything looks like what we would want or what we would expect from a graded quiz. We will not protect the answers here, so students will have to complete the quiz in that sitting. We can keep statistics on. If we want, we can have the student only take the quiz once. We want to give them multiple tries, which we can note further up under the quiz options here. So if we want them to try a maximum of 3 times, we can note that here. We'll let them keep taking it until they pass, however. The rest of these options are good. For the questions, we want to hide correct and incorrect. We don't want to let them know if they are answering the questions correctly until they get their grade. So we'll do the same thing here. We don't want to highlight the correct answer. We do want to force the user to answer each question. And for this one, we are going to add the questions below each other. So this will be a single page quiz. They can take it all in one shot and then get their grade. We will save and publish this, and then we will add our questions. In the interest of time, I'll add a number of questions, and then we will jump back to see how to add them to the course. Okay, with our 2 quizzes created, we are now going to add them to the course. So we will click on Courses under LearnDash LMS. We'll click on our course, Creating Your Own Podcast, and then we will scroll to the bottom to the course builder. We will click the down arrow under Quizzes, and you'll see that we've got both of our quizzes here. So we will add Lesson 1 eval to the end of our Lesson 1, and we will add the final exam to the end of Lesson 2. With that, we'll go ahead and save and update, and now we'll go to the course. So we will click on Defining Your Podcast. Since we've already completed this topic, we can move on to the next one. You can see that we have filled out the rest of our quiz as well. We can mark this complete. And when we mark this complete, we're brought to the beginning of the lesson to take the quiz. So we'll click on the first quiz. We'll click Start Quiz. And now we are given our first question. Again, we can't go to the second question until we answer this one. So a podcast topic must be unique. If I click True, I can click Check, and it tells me that I'm incorrect. But it also lets me move on because this is not a graded quiz. And then we have question 2 of 2. Which of the following is not a podcast format? So acapella singing only and dead air. We'll check that. We got this one correct, so we can now finish the quiz. We finished the quiz. It gives us our time and the number of points, or our percentage. And now we can choose to restart or view the questions. We'll click to continue, and we get moved to the next lesson. And once again, we can go through. We have all the content for our course here. And now we'll take the final exam. We'll start this quiz. All of the questions here are on this single page. And you'll notice that we can't click check. We just have to finish the quiz. If I just click finish, you'll see that we get a pop-up that says you must answer all of the questions before you can complete the quiz because of the settings that we selected in the WordPress dashboard. So we will go ahead and answer these questions. And so we'll get this one incorrect. just to demonstrate the failure part of the quiz. We need to get at least 70%, which means that if we answer 2 of these incorrectly, we will not pass. So I'll click finish the quiz. So we got a 0%. The click to continue button is not showing because we need to get at least 70% to move on. So we'll click restart. And now we will pass the quiz. So criminal is the right answer here. XLR is the right answer here. And select all of the options below that allow you to improve sound quality. Use headphones, have your guest record locally, and get a pop filter. You don't want to record in a completely empty room because the sound will bounce around too much. We'll click finish the quiz. And now we got a 100%. Now we can click to continue. And now we have completed our course. So that's it for this lesson. In it, we learned how to create and add quizzes to our courses. We made 2 types of quizzes, a self-evaluation quiz that did not count, and a final exam that had to be passed in order to complete the course.